Alrighty, so I'll just explain as best as I can here. Um, this is just kind of like the multiplier leading into everything. So I've got it pretty well set up here. So the two multiply together gives you 0.1. Now what I have that doing is that's coming into the signal generator. It's got a little thing here called the min-max value, and what that outputs is the magnitude. But we don't really need that right now. What we're looking for is this value here being 0.1. So if I were to set everything to play, it's only going to go up to 0.1. And if I start messing around with this, let's say 0.3, and you can see that number there changing anytime I change the luck. So this will say 0.6. So I can have these sliders here set up so that when someone levels up and puts points into luck, it'll take into account for that, and this will move up, and that'll affect, or that'll be multiplied with the quality of your tools, and then you'll get this extra little bonus going into getting whatever tools, like whatever materials you're going to get. Now, the reason I went with having this one here is I wanted something to kind of work for all that background stuff. Something fairly easy to use, but I wanted it to also still have a little bit of that random element to it. Now with these, what I've done is, so I'll set whatever range it is that I want to get like out of a drop. So I have that set up with this. So you'll see like 2 to 2.5. That's pretty much the range of what you're going to get. But what I also have is it'll take whatever number you get from this, it'll add the two together. So you get that. This is just additive, because if I made it multiplicative, after you get these numbers up really high, it'd be ridiculous. Then I've been going with the calculators, and I have those set to rounding, because when you want to do something like this at the side of your screen, where you want whole numbers, if you're not rounding, it'll give you an inaccurate idea of what you actually have for numbers. So it'll suddenly be like, oh, okay, now you have, let's say it'll say 58. It's really 57.8. And so if you have any logic that needs to be precise, it won't work that way. Like it's not going to operate. So if you have it, so you were like, oh, I need it to be greater than or equal to 58. Well, it can say 58 on the screen, and like let's say you have a crafting menu and it says you need 58 of this one object, whoever's playing is going to go, oh, perfect, I'm good to go. Well, that's not really the case, because the values won't line up. These are quite literally just for visuals. They don't need to be there. I just kind of wanted to see what was going on, how often. I have everything set to a 1 millisecond timer, or 1/100th. Yeah. And basically I've got this just cycling for the total attempts. It's just faster than trying to hit buttons and get it to work. Okay, so this is where you'll see the total attempts, etc. This is also, again, fairly easy. I wanted this just set up as a variable. It didn't really have to be. I could have it as a counter or whatever. Just find it easier with a variable and add one. Pretty much this will look at the total amount. If your total attempts reaches the total amount, you have a reset. I just wanted that in there so it would automatically cycle through if I wanted to walk away and test what would happen if you went for 1,000,000. See if I could make something with 1 in a million chance. And then this here basically just says if your value is of this any greater than 0, which with any attempt it will be, it'll just turn all this logic on. Now, by doing that exact same kind of thing with all of the numbers, like the ones you see at the side of the screen here, so you'll see those pop up at the same time as these. Looks like we got really unlucky and we only got one of these out of 2,000 attempts. So that's super. And then I've just got those so they stay on, and then it takes a short period of time for those to turn off. But you can also take, like, this one set is 4. So you can take whatever your variables are, whatever numbers they are, use the modifiers anywhere, and then you can do whatever the heck you want with them, honestly. I mean, like, let's say I got 227 of those. Well, then I can kind of go like add, use the negative number, and then I can go and like use that many in a store, or I can use the number of how many I sell, and I can throw that in conjunction with like the multiplication over here and give you a set value for a currency. So like let's say you wanted to sell uh, these earth crystals here. I've got 1,000 of those now. So they're not also not going to show up on here anymore because I've got 1,000. But if the chip geodes, we'll go with that. So let's say I wanted to sell like 40 of those. So I can take that 40, multiply it by, let's say I want them to be worth like 8 gold each. So I could just take and have I could honestly probably do it with one of these, a slider, have it go up to a total of 1,000, and then you just kind of slide it to wherever you want when you're playing the game. And then just have it where you press a button and then it'll take and sell that many. And then kind of with the math there, if I had that, whatever value I had, multiplied it by however much it was worth, then you can also add in another multiplier. I suggest, well, it doesn't really matter. You can go below 1, up past 1, and then you'd end up with something quite a bit like a bartering skill, if you felt like throwing that in there. So you could have it where it's like half, you get paid double, or maybe you're like really bad at bartering, and so now they're only going to pay you half of what it's actually worth. That's really easy to set up with the calculators and this kind of thing. I'm hoping that kind of describes everything. These are just adding, and their values that they add by are just what is all created in this logic here. And then that just happens every so often, and then that's what adds to those total values. So that's pretty much it, actually. And let's see here. In the time I've been talking about it, we still only got one. Super unlucky. Oh well. Should make that one worth 1,000,000. So if you have any more questions, feel free to let me know. And yeah, that's pretty much it.